Hello. This video here is going to be your entire overview of how to create a low poly portrait or figure. I have 6 examples from previous years from students, so these are not mine, these are student examples. I'll start with 3 that are more vertically based or portrait based, and then we'll go to 3 that are horizontal or landscape based. So here we have Boba Fett. This is incredibly detailed. You do not have to go this detailed. This can take a very long time to do so. Whoops. Let's see if I can go back to him. There we go. Trying to zoom in without going over to the other one. Anyway, this has thousands of triangles, and when you get this detailed, you will notice when you zoom into like ungodly degrees, perfection is near impossible. That being said, though, they still kind of classify as triangles. So what you're trying to do in this project is you're going to be trying to map triangles to facial features or body features or clothing articles to kind of make it look a little 3D, like it has kind of like shading to it. But again, only triangles. So here's another one. This one was voted best in class last year by the students. I tend to agree. Again, lots of detail, cool background interaction that you can do, whether that be like little like shadow effects like this or the rocks kind of floating around. And again, once again, all triangles. You really notice it when you get a little closer into features, but there they all are. This honestly is again incredibly detailed. Not many little gaps like this. Like don't expect, and I don't require that level of precision, but it does look good when you can pull it off. And then last but not least, on the verticals, this one here, this is tricky. When you work in absolute whites, or not absolute white, but like whites, every triangle that's next to each other has to be a different shade of color. If they're the exact same, like they are, or really close to it down here, you can't tell until you get really close. Then you can go and see that they are. And ditto when you go with really, really darks. That gets really tricky when you're selecting like things that are close to solid black. So it looks great when you pull it off, but it is a little trickier to do that. All right, let's hop over to the 3 horizontal ones. If you want to go the next level on this one, you can also low poly the background. This is absurd. Again, not required nor expected, but holy moly, when you pull it off, it looks fantastic. Again, areas with absurd detail, right? Like right in here. And then other areas that are more, again, not focal features, you can have some really big triangles. That juxtaposition is key to a really good project. All right, let me see if I can hop over as the computer. These files are huge, so I'll have to kind of bear with me on this one. Uh, Again, another incredibly detailed one. Again, you can kind of see some of these here, so be careful with those. These prints can be enormous, and on the big prints, you will see some imperfections. So if you like being a detailed perfectionist, this is your project. In addition to doing portraits, you can do landscapes. I tend to find that they take more time and sometimes are more difficult because when you're working with a face, you can more easily map the features of the face, where landscape, you're really just going based on color, like where the colors are different. But again, a phenomenal piece here. Lots of detail on this one. Backgrounds on landscapes like sky, like far distant backgrounds, can be just done with a gradient. You do not have to low poly the entire thing if you do a landscape, though that being said, there normally end up being more triangles than a portrait. All right, let me hop out of these. In this video's demo, we're all going to be working with an image of an apple. You'll have your choice of color of apple, but this way you can learn the required techniques, which there are not many, but they are a little difficult. So I'm going to minimize out of Illustrator real quick. This is the file that you're looking for, apples.webp. I'll link that on Schoology and maybe in the YouTube comments as well. You're going to want to download this and save this to your desktop any way that you want, but you do need this image, okay? All right, Illustrator. The first thing that we're going to do, I'll show you, is we are going to bring the image into Illustrator and we are going to embed it. So it'll look like this. As you can see, I've chosen the green apple to low poly, but you can low poly whatever one that you want. Okay, how to do this. Let's make a new file together. We're going to go to File, and then New in Illustrator, or actually let me go to the home screen. We'll go here, the beginning of Illustrator, and you're going to click on New File. The dimensions that we're going to use for this are going to be the same that you use for your real project, so it's nice that it saves. Name it like Apple Demo. The width, you're going to want it to be 18 inches. Make sure that it says inches right here. Height, 12 inches. And the orientation should be the more horizontal one. This one right here should be blue. Color mode should be CMYK. Leave everything in bleed 0. Raster effect should be high at 300. Afterwards, you can go ahead and hit create, and you should get a white rectangle like this. Up here at the top where it says Adobe Illustrator 2023, you can click and drag anywhere and kind of like move the screen around, and you want to get to where you can see your apples.webp on your desktop. So click and drag that into Illustrator and let go, and I can move Illustrator back over. Now Illustrator is weird. Watch, when I click and drag to expand this, see how it gets really cattywampus? Hold down the shift key and then click and drag, and you'll notice that these stay nice and fine. Make them pretty big. Get them kind of close to the edge of the screen. Now, with Illustrator, let's all do this just to make sure. Once the apples are in, up at the top right here, you will see Window right here. Click on Window, and then hover over Workspace, and click on Essentials. Make sure Essentials is checked. Even if it is checked, go all the way down to Reset Essentials, and then click that. That'll like default everything so we're all on the same page, because it's important with what's coming up. So in the top right over here, you will see Properties now. You might see Layers. If you were on that, go to Properties. With the image still selected, you can tell this image is selected because it has the blue X through it. Down here, you should see Quick Actions, and one of your Quick Actions options should be Embed. Click that. Otherwise, you won't be able to use the colors from the photo for a part coming up that's like incredibly important. All right, now let's hop to Layers, where it says Layers right here, up at the top right. Right now, we only have layer 1, that's with the apples. Where my cursor is right now, not on the text, but a little to the right, click twice really fast, like double tap, and you should see layer options pop up. In it, you can name it. I'm going to call it Stock Photo. I would recommend that you do the same. It's just a photo. You're going to want to hit Lock right here because you do not want to edit the photo, and you want to dim images to. I like 50%. That's the default. It seems to work well for me. Then hit OK. Now you should notice that the blue little box around the image goes away, and you can't draw or do anything to the photo, which is good. All right, our next thing is that we're gonna really get set up with the grid. We need to make a new layer for this though. So all the way down to the bottom of layers, you're gonna see these buttons that are similar to Photoshop. This one right here with the plus sign, second furthest to the right, if you hover over it, it says create new layer, hit that. That'll make layer 2. On layer 2, you could just double tap real quick on the text and call it grid, G-R-I-D, and then hit return. We're going to go back to the properties tab here because we will need to edit some stuff in here coming up. So with the grid, you only use one tool. This project is honestly really essentially 3 tools, and mainly this one right here, the pen tool. Very professional tool. If you want to be a graphic designer, you do have to get good with this tool. So it's the third from the top. You could just hit P on the keyboard. That'll select it. With the pen tool, our settings are really important with our colors down here in the bottom left. Mine right now, you'll notice that there's 2 kinds of colors. Let me get this set up so you can kind of see a little bit better of an example, and then I'll explain. Okay. So the white square right here in the bottom left, that is the fill color, meaning if I were to make like a square right now, the inside of the square is white. This second color that has this little hollow bit right here, that's the outline color. So if I, again, were to make a square, it would be a white inside, but a black outline or outside around it. What you want is to click on the fill color first. So you can tell it's selected because it's in front of the other little square. And then you want to hit this red slash button right here. If you hit that, that'll cancel it out, and there won't be an inside color, which is perfect. Go to your stroke color, and then double tap on it, and you should see this window pop up called Color Picker. Go all the way down to just solid black, and then hit OK. If it's not letting you do that, right here on the left, this little tiny button right there will turn it into a color. Then you can double click, change color to black. All right. Pick whichever apple that you want. Again, I'll go green again for this demo. If you see this little color window pop up, you can hit this little X just to get rid of it. And here comes, I would say this is the most important part of the entire project. I recommend zooming in for this. So hold down Command and you can tap plus to zoom in a couple times, or you can pinch and pull on the trackpads. Now, you will notice a number in the bottom left where my cursor is going over. This number is the percentage that you're zoomed in. So if you're zoomed in to 100%, that's kind of what it'll look like when it prints off at 18 by 12 inches. If you zoom in to some absurd amount, like 500%, no one will ever see this level of detail when it prints. So anything that you're doing is kind of a waste of time. In my opinion, I kind of almost want to make this a rule. Don't go over 200. Like, I mean, 202, whatever. But like any more than that, you're really pushing it and you might be wasting your time. I think a really good happy medium is around the 150 mark. I like that. Sometimes you do have to go to 200 when you're dealing with small spots. The other thing that you might notice how I'm bobbing around kind of like this, if you place 2 fingers down on the trackpad and move around, not clicking, but just placing, you can kind of swivel, which is going to be really important for what's coming up in this project. All right, pen tool and how to make a triangle. What you're going to want to do, actually what I would recommend doing first, over here in properties, do you see where it says stroke? Stroke's another word for outline. It's 1 point right now. Click this little down arrow right here twice. Get it to 0.5. That way that your outlines don't like take up so much space. Now we're ready to make a triangle. I am going to start like right here. I'm going to click once and you're going to see a red dot appear. I'm not dragging. Let me reemphasize that. Do not click and drag. You're just kind of like tap clicking. So I'm going to go to the next spot and I'm going to click a second time. Now I have a line from point A to point B. I can go somewhere else for the third one, click again, but you'll notice I have to close this triangle because we are doing triangles. So you have to go back to the original spot. And when you go back to the original spot, you will see a word anchor appear with a little circle by your pen tool. That means you are confirming you're closing the loop. So I'm going to click again. And now if I hover away, I don't see that red line trying to dash to the next spot because that triangle is done. All right? So let me make a second triangle over here and show you a really common mistake. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start right here because I want to kind of make this triangle in this general area. And I'm going to click right here. Uh-oh. It deleted my other line. It thinks that I'm editing the triangle. So I undid that with Command Z. If you ever make a mistake, Command Z will undo it. Here's the thing. Every time you make a new triangle, you have to hold down the Shift key on the keyboard, just on the first click. So we are starting a new triangle, hold Shift, tap once, let go of Shift. And now you can see you're free to make your triangle. Click a second time, click a third time, click a fourth time, right there. Let me go for a third triangle, and I want to show you another common mistake. So I'm going to start a new triangle right here. I'm going to hold Shift. You can even see that you get this little asterisk icon. That means you are holding Shift. You're doing this well. Click once. I'm going to go right here. I'm going to stay on the line of the other triangle. I'm going to click a second time, and then I'm going to go down here. It'll snap to the anchor. I'm going to click a third time. And most people think they're done. They're ready to kind of move on. But do you notice how this red line is still moving around? You don't want that. You have to go back to your original point, even though it's kind of putting a line over a line. So go back to your original spot and click again. And now do you see how there's no red line moving around? That way I know that triangle is done. Okay? So again, hold Shift to start your triangle, click once. Let go of Shift, click a second time, a third time, and then a fourth time back to the original spot. And that is how you make triangles. When making triangles, the best projects take into consideration where the color is and where the shapes are. So as you can see, I'm making a triangle right there because mainly that has that shimmer of the apple in there. Let's not get too zoomed in because I don't want to go to obscene levels of detail. I'm going to hold Shift again, click up here to start a new triangle. Once, twice, 3 times. We'll start here, hold Shift, once, or well, actually, that's 2, 3, and 4. Now you'll notice something. See how there's a triangle right in there that I didn't make? Well, guess what? That actually counts as a triangle. So if you end up accidentally making a triangle by like just filling in areas around it, hey, cool, you did it. So your goal is to make a grid that is mapped to the apple by doing this. I'm going to go back to my other project that I'm already ahead on, and here is my finished result of my grid. You can see that I followed the outlines of the apple. I got the stem. I made sure to get the darker areas filled in with triangles where then I separated them with the light areas. That's what you want to do, all right? I'm going to hop on further in this video, but obviously we'll take the time to go do that together. Let me see if I can copy this layer. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just copy the entire grid. Command C, we'll hop over back here, and we'll delete these. Command V. So Command C is copy, Command V is paste. And that is how I'm going to try to line this one up to this apple. Now the sizes are a little different, so we'll see what I can do to make it, you know, pretty good. All right, kind of happy with that. All right, so I'll give you guys some time, obviously, in class to get as much done on one apple as you can, but now we are ready, in this video anyway, to color the apple. When you're done your grid on your real project, you'll see that you have just grid layer right here. You want to do two things. One, have the layer, first of all, go to layers up in the top and then select the grid layer, okay? Then you'll see this little button right here. Click on that, and one option you'll see right here is duplicate grid. Choose that. You should have grid copy. Before we do anything, hit this empty space right here to lock the original grid layer, and then hit the eyeball to hide it. We actually don't want it for this next part. Grid copy, double click on the text, like tap, tap, and call this color, and then hit return. We're ready to color now. This is the fun, easy part. You made it to here, you're pretty much good to go. You can't mess it up, all right? I want to select every single triangle I have, and the easiest way to do that, ready? Hold down the Command key and hit the letter A, and you'll notice that it's all selected. Command A is in all. After everything is selected, we want to go up to the top of your screen where it says Object. Click on that, and you got to go really far down for this one. Live Paint, right here. Hover over Live Paint, don't click on it, but then click on Make, right here. You might get a little message that pops up. I didn't. It doesn't matter. Just hit OK if you do get a message that pops up. Then what you want to do is click off of your selection, because see how everything's still selected? So if I just click somewhere out in the open space, it's deselected, which is good. You don't want it selected for the next part. So let me zoom in a little bit, and we'll start by coloring maybe like around here. So rather than going over to your toolbar for this part, hotkeys are 8,000 times faster. You're going to be using I on your keyboard as in infinite and K as in kite. So ready? I'm going to hit I on the keyboard, and you'll see that your tool shape turns into like an eyedropper. And what that does is when you click inside a triangle, you'll see that it, like if you hold down, it fills it with like black a little bit right there. But what it does is it grabs the color that you click on, the literal pixel of color that you click on. Then you can hit K. K is in kite. That brings up the paint bucket tool. And you'll see that this triangle that I'm currently, or any triangle really that I'm hovering over, highlights red. That's saying wherever you click next, the paint bucket will fill that triangle. So I'm going to click inside this one. And you'll notice though, you might be saying, that color looks a little bit darker than, what I thought I selected. The reason why that's happening is that's, if you remember a while ago, we embedded the photo. Our photo is still dimmed at 50%, but the eyedropper and the paint bucket are remembering the real 100% version of that color. So anyway, let's get back to like the simple stuff. You're going to go to the next triangle. You're going to hit I. You're going to click inside the triangle with the trackpad. You're going to hit K for paint bucket, and you're going to click inside the triangle. So it's I, trackpad, K, trackpad. I, trackpad, K, trackpad. I, trackpad, K, trackpad. Literally over and over and over again. You do need to eyedropper every single triangle, because once again, the triangles cannot be the exact same color next to each other. Otherwise, you won't notice the difference of your triangles, and it'll start to kind of look like a sloppy mess. So I click, K click, or I trackpad, K trackpad. Let me hide the photo. and you'll start to see that you're coloring your apple. I'm going to delete this layer here real quick, just for the sake of the demo, because we're going to finish this video off. Let me go back into my other one, my finished example, and we are going to take this, yes, and we are going to put that right about there. Oh, oops, I don't want that actually on that layer. Let me make a new layer. Call that, what do we call that? Color. Command V. Oh, look at that, I'm missing one. Do you see that empty space like right there in the apple? Let me see if I can click that. Yep, and right down here. So this is not intentional, but this is a really good point. It's really easy to miss spaces. Something good to go back and kind of double check as you go. But right here, we have a, hopefully, finished apple. The next step is removing those black lines. And normally in a program like Photoshop or Sketchbook or Procreate or any other ones, when you remove the black lines, you're left with literal gaps everywhere. And you have to go in microscopically and fill the gaps. No more with Illustrator. So here we go. Go back to your layers menu right up top and make sure that your color layer is selected. We're going to duplicate the color layer. So once again, click on this button up here and then look for duplicate color and choose that. Should have color copy. Lock the color layer and eyeball it out or hide it. Double click on color copy and we're going to call this final, F-I-N-A-L, and hit return. We want to select everything again, so Command A selects all, see that? Then down here where your colors, remember like forever ago we picked black for the outline, click on the black outline little square right here and hit the none button, this little red slash. After you do that, just simply click off anywhere and deselect. Let me hide the stock photo. And there it is. There's literally no outline in that. It's perfect. So, voila. The other crazy thing about Illustrator that I want to show you guys real quick. I guess one triangle is always going to be selected. I'm 800% zoomed in right now, and you don't see any pixels, right? Like all the colors are perfect, right? So what's awesome about this project is that when you print it, you can print it as large as you want and you have no quality loss. All right, the very last thing that we need to do is a background. So I'm gonna go cancel out of that because that was with the color. On your final layer, hit the lock button to lock it, and then we're gonna make a new layer. So go all the way down to the plus sign and hit create new. It'll pop up as layer 5. Double click on layer 5 and call it background and then hit return. Background though is the background, so we want it below everything. Click and drag this layer below stock photo, just like that, okay? Now in your real project, you're gonna have to zoom all the way out so you can see the entire white space. Maybe we'll just do this for the sake of this video, even though the apple's kind of small. I'm going to take, and you're going to take, this tool right here called the rectangle tool. It's fourth tool down from the top. The hotkey is M, again, right there. With the rectangle tool selected, look down here in the bottom left. Any color will do for fill. Don't worry about it for right now, but make sure that there is a color in there. And then make sure that there is no outline. Also make sure that the color square is selected. Like it should be above the outline. It should look just like mine right now. Well, with any color. Then what I recommend is actually start a little outside of your project, outside of the white rectangle. Click, drag, and swipe so that the rectangle takes up the entire space, and then let go. Now, up in your top thing here where it says layers, go back to properties, all right? I guess, you know what, it's probably easier to do it this way, but we do need properties selected eventually. Down here in the bottom by where the color is now, this little middle button right here will put a gradient on it. So go ahead and click that. And you should see that it goes to like this black and white gradient. We're gonna colorize it. Oh, good, and I got lucky. This little window popped up right here with gradient information. You can kind of move that around where you want, or it'll be right here in properties, and that's why I wanted to go to properties. So either space, they literally are the same thing. Where it says type of gradient, you want to choose the far right option, which is free-form gradient. Watch what this does. It gives you 4 dots in each corner right here. Things that you can do with these dots. You can click and drag and move the dot around, and that dot has like a color attached to it, so that color will move. Or if you don't like the colors that come with it, double click on the dot and you get this color picker window here, and you can choose any color that you want within here. So I can go to this one over here and I can pick a different color. I can go over here, double click and pick a different color. And then if I want to just deselect, I can just click off somewhere. Now I have, a completely different color palette. The other thing that you can do is click somewhere else inside the rectangle, and you'll see that it adds a new dot every time that you click. So you can really get crazy with this and add a lot of dots. I don't recommend going like super nuts, but you could try to figure it out on your own. If you accidentally click off or something like that, or it deselects and you're like, no, I want to edit my dots, just take this selection tool, the black arrow, click on the rectangle, and here we go. This is why I like having that properties window open. Let's close those. When the rectangle is selected, you will see edit gradient over here, and that when you hit edit gradient, that re-brings up your dots. Let's just, for the sake of this, pretend I'm happy with the dots that I have. I want to save this. So again, we're going to save twice, just like always. File, and you're going to do save as. So again, file, save as. The first time, let's make sure that we do save to Creative Cloud right here. Or it might look like this right here, save to Creative Cloud. You can call it Apple Demo and then hit save. You want to make sure always that as you're working on a project that you see this little cloud icon above it right here. That's perfect. All right. Now that we're ready to submit it to Schoology though, let's do all of these steps again. File, and you're going to do save as. But this time, you're going to hit save on your computer. Sometimes that might be in the bottom left. Let me show you. Sometimes you might see it down here. Hit on your computer, and then save as. You can call it whatever you want. I'll leave it as Apple Demo. The big thing is make sure that it says .ai afterwards. Where, change that to desktop so it's easy to find, and then hit save. You'll get this window. That's fine. Just hit OK. It doesn't matter. Let's minimize out of Illustrator. Let's just double check, and there it is. Now, the preview of it might not look correct, but I promise you when you double click it to open it back up, it is correct. All right, that file right here is the one that you're going to link to your finished Schoology assignment, and then you're done the project. Good job, guys.